Dallas Cowboys started their preseason this Sunday. Started it with a loss, but preseason scores don't really matter that much. Tonight, we'll be talking about the actual game, though, player evaluation. And by the way, I need to change this graphic because it's the wrong graphic, but we'll get that fixed in a little bit here. In the meantime, though, welcome to a very special guest, third time on the show, Iisha Morrison. Welcome into the show. Thank you for doing this.
Dude, we're making this a habit. Like it's it's starting to become a thing. You know what I'm saying? We go together. We go together pretty well when we do this stuff. So I'm excited to be here, man.
I'm excited too, and obviously it's an exciting time to do this as well because we've done this where it's like I think the first time you were on the show was before or after the first preseason game actually, or the preseason finale from last year, and then we did it again for the playoffs. So it's like perfect timing, I think. Iisha, thank you for doing this. Big preseason game tonight, today, earlier, versus the LA Rams, because a lot happened. And I think that we're going to jump straight into it. I think you got to start with the elephant in the room, and that is Trey Lance making his debut as the Dallas Cowboys third-string quarterback, basically, but a funny situation where the Cowboys were like, we'll give Cooper Rush one drive. We've seen him enough. Now let's get 3+ quarters of Trey Lance football. And it was an interesting performance because I think he had some good moments. He had some bad moments. Some things that stuck out that you were like, I don't know if I love that at all.
Right.
There were some instances where there were some missed opportunities left on the table as well. What did you make, Iisha, out of this first Cowboy game for Trey Lance?
Well, I mean, I think you saw a guy that hasn't played that many live game reps. I think, his inexperience is evident, and I definitely think that some of this too as well, you have to consider when you talk about preseason, you talk about offensive line play, you talk about receivers getting open and stuff like that. Because I heard Mina Kimes, shout out to Mina, she did a fantastic job today. A lot of that too is guys not getting open. And there were times where he was holding the ball. Now, don't get me wrong. There are times where he's holding the ball too long. And that's something that you see with athletic quarterbacks. Sometimes they just don't know when to give up on the play. That's something that even Dak Prescott had to learn early in his career, right? So there was some of that, but it's also a mixture of quite a few other things as well. So for me, I try to stay level-headed about the Trey Lance thing because I have a firm grasp with the fact that this is a player that is inexperienced. This is a player that has not played a lot of reps at the quarterback position, and we know how intricate the quarterback position is. So it's like to be expected. You know what I'm saying? Like, everyone's like pissed about it, and I'm just like, well, baby, what did you expect to see? Like, you see, he's not throwing with anticipation. That's something some guys have it, and then some guys have to work it. Dak Prescott, another, to me, I felt like that was something he's developed in his career. So I also too think, I don't know if you notice, it's just sometimes the touch on the ball. He has such a crazy arm, and it does take time to realize what touch you have to put on certain passes. So that play to the backfield, to the corner, that post corner that Cropper ran, on that, was it 4th down? I don't know if they were about to score a touchdown, the only opportunity they had to score a touchdown today.
Kind of like this fade route that they were running in
right,
in
that's
that.
a fade route.
I know. I kind of agree with the broadcast team with the Rams with Mina Kimes, when Mina was like, she hated the play call because she was like, that's a fade route, that's a low percentage throw, just run it with Trey Lance. But also from an evaluation perspective, just the throw, it just wasn't what you wanted to see, right? And I feel like every time that I was like, okay, let's go, Trey, it was a play that happened like late within the play, right? Trey Lance going out of the pocket, or Trey Lance running and throwing on the run. There was one where he was working to his left, and even Sean McVay was like, well, damn, like that's Trey Lance for you. But then the lack of, as you said, those anticipation throws, and then maybe even like the accuracy, you mentioned it, like the touch of it. There were some plays where you're like, if you place the ball just like this, maybe the receiver can do something after the catch, right? But instead, there were some plays where receivers had to jump for the ball, that kind of stuff. Now, there were a lot of drops. There were also those situations where that 3rd and down where he had Ryan Flournoy and the cornerback was expecting like this deep route and he was out of the play by then. And he, for some reason, goes to his second read. And I think at that point, he's looking at Flournoy. He needs to fire that. And then there was the missed shots when he was overshooting guys. And it's funny for Trey Lance because I agree with everything that you just said about him having very little experience. But then it's also an awkward spot to be in where it's like, it's a contract year. It's your 4th year in the NFL. And you're also not going to cost like a rookie next year. So It's a tough place to be in for Trey, I think.
No, I agree. And, with the quarterback position, I believe that in this league where you had a Patrick Mahomes come in and be successful straight away. You've seen a C.J. Stroud come in and be successful right away. Jordan Love, even though he did sit behind someone just this last year, like we are starting to me personally, become a little bit more microwave about the quarterback position, is that we expect development right away. So I've always been a little bit more lenient when it comes to some of these younger quarterbacks that are taking some time to grow. But in Trey's situation, it's almost like that side of things is out the window. So I kind of get why people are evaluating him, despite the fact that he doesn't have experience. He's been in the league a while. Yeah. And, this just feels like a do or die time for his career. And I said it on my channel today in the preseason. To me, it's not just about him showing like what he can do. I think some of this he needs to see for himself. He needs to see what he's capable of for himself so he can continue to develop. Because how am I supposed to evaluate myself and I ain't got no tape to really go off of, to get coaching for? So, us seeing him a lot during preseason is warranted. Like you said before, we know what Cooper Rush is. Listen, I was cackling because that deep ball he threw, that's it, baby. That's it. Listen, you're going to see 1 or 2 of those if he's your starter, and that's it.
And it was the most Cooper Rush throw ever because it was like, first down, on their center. It wasn't play action, but it was like 21 personnel. Mm-hmm. And then you look at the play, you look at it carefully on the replay, and you're like, I'm more impressed by Rico Dowdle on the pass pro and then by Jalen Brooks working back to the ball than I am with Cooper Rush himself, No,
we know. And like you said, we know what Cooper Rush is. He's going to not throw outside the numbers too much, might give you a deep ball every now and then. Some of them balls are going to be late. He's going to run the offense. He's going to be really copacetic when it comes to just doing what he's supposed to do to get you in and out the game. And that's it. And, so obviously there's a little bit more, and we did get to see some of that from Trey Lance. Some of the things he can do improvising and things he can do with his legs. Clearly the athleticism is through the roof. But it's just, there were just so many times, to your point, that the balls were high, or there was so much spin on them. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't be spinning that thing like that, when a guy is just on a curl route like tater tots. Like, you need to put it on him. You put it on him, but you're not trying to hurt the man's hands. You know what I'm saying? So So I think that, these preseason games, whether he's the Cowboys backup or not, whether he's on this roster or not, for himself, this tape is important, and these reps are incredibly important, and he might feel some of the pressure of that as well,
Yeah, and I do wonder, like, going into week 2 of the preseason, I would love it if the Cowboys approach things the same way. If they're like, Cooper Rush, have this one drive, and then Trey Lance, it's your show for the rest of the day. Because the way that I see it is like, if the Cowboys maybe were not sold on what they saw today, could they maybe want Cooper Rush to have 2 or 3 drives next week or something like that? But I would much rather have them do the same thing that they did in week 1 and just hope for improvement.
So, I mean, obviously, Jalen Marino-Cropper got involved. We'll talk about him, I'm sure. Jalen Brooks got involved. We saw some things from Stevenson. Do you think that you have a better chance of seeing what your receivers can do with the Trey Lance or Cooper Rush? Because that's a big part of it, because that bottom of the wide receiver room depth, it's changed a little bit in this last couple weeks. I mean, I think Jalen Marino-Cropper is really making a case for himself. He's had a couple of bobbles today, was able to haul them in, but did have a couple of bobbles. I personally think that's a little bit of the quarterback putting that thing on him too, you know what I'm saying? But still, you know, he needs to reel in those balls and be more sure-handed. But I just wanted to ask you that because that comes into play as well. If you're trying to really evaluate these receivers, can you evaluate them the same with the Cooper Rush?
That's a very good question. And my initial reaction to it would be with Cooper Rush, I've got a better chance because I just feel like with Cooper Rush running the offense, I know he's much more likely to stay in the pocket. Maybe you're less likely to call these read option RPO type plays that they're running with Trey Lance. That I love them, by the way. Like I like those kind of plays being factored into the playbook, but those are also maybe less looks or fewer looks for the wide receivers. So my initial reaction would be that. I was going to save this for later, Iisha, but I think this is the perfect segue into it. The whole wide receiver thing. So you've got your top 5. It's looking pretty solid to me. And maybe we could have some question marks about Jalen Brooks, but I would say CD, Brandon Cooks, Jalen Tolbert, and then I don't know in what order, but Kevontae Turpin and Jalen Brooks, right? Because Kevontae Turpin is making the team no matter what. It feels like they like Brooks. And then in my first 3 roster projections of the year, I had Ryan Flournoy in there. And that was more of an automatic thing because he was a draft pick. And I'm like, they rarely cut draft picks. So that's how I did it. Now, though, Ryan Flournoy, you know, he didn't start training camp because of an injury, right? So he is off to that like slow start and he's trying to catch up. But today was one of those days where you're like, Jalen Cropper was the better guy out there on the field. And he had some moments, right, with the bubbles and everything. But he had that behind the ball that was behind him from Trey Lance that he reeled in, which was pretty impressive. And he basically ran a touchdown route in the end zone in that missed faith shot. And that catch behind his back happened one play later after a costly Ryan Flournoy drop. And then we had the fumble. So is there a way or is there a possibility that the Cowboys cut 6th round draft pick Ryan Flournoy and try to sneak him into the practice squad?
I mean, possibly. Now, I will say, you know, obviously Flournoy has had a couple of injuries, like you mentioned. He's been slow to get back to camp. I do believe that he did put together a good week. But to your point, you know, drops killed them today, and he had 2 of them. Him, McMath, like, they had some key drops that could have sustained drives. And when you're in a situation where you're, for all intent and purposes, auditioning, you can't have that. And to your other point, yeah, I think Jalen Marino Cropper is making it real weird for in some of these conversations when you talk about cuts. And this is, you know, obviously we know the Cowboys value their draft picks, but let's just be frank here. Most teams don't value the 6th, 7th round pick as much as the 3rd through the 4th, or even the 5th, depending on, you know, so it's like there are levels. So, and whereas I do think that Ryan Flournoy, again, I liked some of his tape that I saw. I saw a big body. I saw a guy that had sideline awareness, strong hands, and he just struggled today. And so he either can pick it up and try to have a better week next week, you know, next week's preseason game, have another good week. But it's like when the lights come on, big dog, like you got to perform. So to see him go out there and struggle today sucks. But again, to your point, it makes another case for Jalen Marino Cropper, who has been consistent to this point. Because, I mean, yeah, he had a few bobbles, but he's translating what he's doing in practice, and we're seeing how well he's practicing onto the field in this preseason game, and that's what you're looking for as a coach.
And it looks like Jalen Moreno Cropper is getting some chances returning kicks. And I don't know that I've seen Ryan Flournoy do that. I know Ryan Flournoy is fast. Like, he had a very good 40 and everything, but maybe Jalen Moreno Cropper has an edge over there as well, right, in the special teams department.
Yeah, and that might be what does it, to your point. Like, that might be what does it is, you know, special teams availability and being able to do some things there will always make you a little bit more of a person to be desired on a football team if you can do those things. So, yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, and Jalen Marino Cropper, he's been on this team for a year. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was here last year. So that's another thing that works in his benefit as well to me is the fact that he's been around. He probably has a good grasp on the playbook already, and he's been healthy. and
Yeah.
availability matters. So, yeah, man. Interesting. And then no Jalen Tolbert today.
No Jalen
They
Tolbert
let the
started
young man
starter
sit.
treatment.
They let the
Starting
young man.
treatment.
Well, I mean, I know a lot of people were just like, I saw some people on Twitter like, has he earned that or whatever? And I'm like,
Yep.
at this point, I think so. And also, too, you got to also consider what if there is, God forbid, what if these CD talks go into the season? What if we don't see CD Lamb suit up right away? This might also be them making sure he's ready to go in case this is prolonged a little bit longer than what we planned on.
That's a new fear you just unlocked on me, Iisha.
I'm sorry.
I do want this CD thing to be over by the time the season starts. I don't want to be thinking about that. But, hey, you've got a point.
I do too.
You've got a good point. Jalen Tolbert, I was surprised by that. And maybe this is a little bit of a 180. But something that I was surprised by, too, was like Marshawn Kneeland got one drive. And that's similar to the Jalen Tolbert feeling where I'm like, oh, we're giving the second-round draft pick one drive, and then we were sitting him just to put him on bubble wrap and be like, okay, ready to go. And one thing that I thought of was Mike Zimmer telling, I think it was 97.6, when he was like, Sam Williams was going to play 70 to 75% of the plays.
Talk about it.
And I'm like, oh, so now Marshawn Kneeland is that guy, and he might be looking at a similar snap count.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I mean, I was going to say, like, this is because you know, that edge depth has been compromised a little bit. So it's like, yeah, the Kneeland treatment, but also, too, let's keep it a buck. I mean, you noticed him early in the run game. Very early in the run game. Like, and he stands out because of his size. Like, he's huge. But the motor and just the tenacity to find the football, the power in his hands, like, I bet you his wrists are super strong. But, like, just seeing how active he was early in the run game, I was not surprised, but I was just like, oh, okay, big boy. Like, okay, we see you. And so them taking him out, it might have been we've seen enough. You got it. We see that you get it. Cool.
And it's exciting. It's exciting because he was like one of these picks that during the draft process, a lot of people were like, this is a steal. This is a steal. This is a steal. And we're like, and a lot of people back then were like, but we've got the depth, right? That was part of the conversation for some people. And I'm like, you can never have too many defensive ends. And then Sam Williams goes down. They want to move Micah Parsons around a little bit more. And it felt like, thank God they drafted Marshawn Kneeland, because you would be in trouble had you not done that. And Kneeland, he had that play where, as you say, like the power was in display. He had that third down stop when he forced the fourth down, and then they moved the chains, I believe, anyways, on fourth down. But he got that stop, and then there was another play where he's pushing his man from the backside of the play all the way into the play side. Like, he was impressive in that short playing time. I was surprised, though, when the second drive started and it was like, where's 94? And he was done for the day. I thought that was a pretty strong statement. He landed on my winners and losers list over on AtoZSports.com because that was pretty important to me. Now, speaking of rookies, Tyler Guyton, and I still cannot figure out why he came back into the game to start the second half. I was taken aback by that, but Tyler Guyton, is this too good to be true? Because this guy looks ready to go. He looked good in pass pro. The third and long where Trey Lance took off for 60 yards, that was Tyler Guyton being ready for the inside move from the defensive end, just pushing him aside. And he had this play where he's, pulling and just he blows up a Rams defender. This guy is ready to go, it seems like, Iisha.
Oh, no, absolutely. The power from him, the power in his hands and the striking, he's often the initiator, and that's what I like to see from offensive linemen. I don't want you waiting. I don't want you guessing. I don't want you being afraid to show your hands. Be strong and showing your hands. And I actually tweeted, like, he seals so well. So where, like, if he's coming in and he's trying to seal off the edge so you can capture on the outside, it's so steady, and he's like a wall. That size and length shows up on the field. And to answer your question, I believe that he came back because Chuma Edoga went out with a toe. And at that point, they had Awesome Richards doing left guard stuff. I'm not sure if they.
Okay.
Now, I believe Austin Richards has looked. I thought he looked pretty good in the Rams scrimmage, but seeing him at left guard, I wonder if they found a happy place for him. He seems just a little bit more consistent there, which is crazy. But I think it takes some of the thinking that he does out of it and that close contact. Like, I liked a lot of the left guard stuff I saw from him today. And if you remember early in that game, like when they were doing stuff, they were going over that left side, even in the scrimmage, and he was over there. He was over there.
I'm gonna look forward to like reviewing that once the old 22 comes out, because that's pretty interesting. Because suddenly, like, your offensive line looks extremely deep. Because I feel like they've got a guy at backup left tackle. If Chuma is that guy, right? Let's assume that he comes back healthy and everything from whatever happened today. You've got Tyler Guyton and you've got Chuma Edoga. Say you've got Tyler Smith, and then you've got Asim Richards, Hoffman and Beebe at center, and then you've got Zach Martin and TJ Voss. Like, that would be a crazy group of offensive linemen, honestly.
So here's my thing, though. I thought Austin was going to be your swing tackle. So if he's not your swing tackle, and Edoga sounds like he was in a boot, he left today in a boot, he's dealing with a toe, who's your swing tackle? Because, baby, let me tell you.
It's not Waletzko.
Matt Waletzko had a tough evening. Put it like that.
And Iisha, you are closer to the team and everything. Kind of looks like they're over him by now, doesn't it?
I think they're over. I think at this point, if they're not over them, then we need to write a letter or something. Because it's between him, Ball, and it's really just those two. Between those two, it's clear the power isn't there. The NFL level power isn't there. Whether that's because specifically with Waletzko, he's dealt with shoulder injuries. If that's maybe because he doesn't want to injure himself, whatever the case may be. But even looking at the Rams scrimmage on 101s, he is literally just not even getting his hands on the edge. He's not even getting his hands on the defender because I think he's scared to punch. I do. I think that, like, maybe he's nervous to punch. And so you're seeing him leaning and guys literally just running around him, which is what they did in this game.
That's not good when you're fighting for a roster spot. But, hey, it could be a complicated kind of situation if the Chuma injury turns out to be pretty serious or something. I'm looking forward to seeing how they go about it. But Guyton, like, assume Chuma Edoga wouldn't have been injured today. Like, let's assume that injury didn't happen. It does feel like Tyler Guyton would still be your week one starting left tackle for me with the way that he's played, honestly, because he just looks ready. And I don't know what happened this offseason, right between the moment he was drafted up until now, but this is a tackle that I think we all would be comfortable with in week one. Now, mind you, he's likely going to lose some reps against Myles Garrett, right, from the Cleveland Browns, but he's still somebody that you should survive with by what we've seen in camp, by what we've seen in the preseason, where, like, his hands are going to the right place. We already knew about the athleticism, but it's not like he's getting killed because of his hand usage, which seems to me that was the main concern with them coming out of college.
Oh yeah, that was one of my things, was that his hand placement was so up and down sometimes, but that's honestly what was on Tyler Smith's scouting report, and we've seen him develop into. He looked crazy. He looks like the real deal out there. We've seen him develop into one of the best left guards in football. And so, and in retrospect also too, they had to by default put Tyler Smith out there last year and or the year before last. Dang, time is flying. Yeah. And it worked out, right? He took it on the chin. He took his warts. He went through, some tough times or whatever the case may be. But it worked out because he had the athletic traits to really get him over. And Tyler Guyton seems to be displaying that same type of situationalism, if that's even a word. So let's just let the kid play, man.
So we've talked about some of the rookies so far here on the show, right? We talked about, obviously, not a rookie, but we talked about Trey Lance. We talked about Guyton. We talked about Nealand. Before we get to BB and some of the other players, Let's talk about a second-year player that landed on my winners list easily, and that is the Marvin Overshown. We didn't see a lot from him, but when he was on the field, he made sure you noticed him. He had these 2 big-time tackles to the outside, right? Just flying to the ball carrier, making the tackle impressively. He had a moment where he also blitzed through the A-gap, which was pretty cool to see, right? That Mike Zimmer element to it, even if we are in the preseason. Mike Zimmer went wild with some of these plays because there was this the Willie Harvey blitz where he's sending Justin Rogers in a stunt, and then he's dropping Tyrus Wet into coverage. He didn't care it was August. He was just calling some wild stuff out there. But the Marvin Overshown shined today, Iisha, and I think that was big because I think we kind of underestimated the fact that Overshown was Dan Quinn's guy, and then Marist Liufau seems like he's Mike Zimmer's guy. But Overshown still feels like he's above Liufau right now on the depth chart, it would seem to me.
Oh, yeah. I mean, my bad. The yawnies got me. But nah, like with DeMarvion Overshown, obviously I have the pleasure of being able to be in the building. And there was just plenty of times this offseason that I was walking down to the studio and you look out the window and you look at him and you see him working. And I'm telling you, it was maybe like March, late March. No, it was probably Mayish. I seen him working on the field and I literally was like, oh, he ready. Like, he's ready. And DeMarvion is also too someone that he just feels unique. I mean, when you talk to him, when you're around him, and some guys, you just look at them and they have like a destiny, quote unquote. And I know that sounds corny, and I hope that doesn't sound corny, but you know what I mean? Like, sometimes you meet people and you just be like, oh, you're special. And so when the ACL happened to him, it made me upset because I was like, I felt like I knew that he was going to be something big. And so for him to get through it, like going through the rehab, and we're just hearing he's ahead of schedule. I'm like, surprised, duh. So to see him come out there, and that's where we first noticed him for real, because he had a pretty quiet camp prior to the preseason last year. And then when those lights come on, man, he's like, I'm here. All the freaking armbands and stuff. He's like, I'm here. You're going to know my name. And just seeing how he's so rangy, obviously, clearly a former safety. He's so rangy for a linebacker. He's so rangy.
I think it doesn't sound corny. I think when you've got players, like when we're talking about NFL football, it's clear that everyone is talented. So when a player has like that right mindset, especially to go and overcome a season-ending injury as a rookie, like there's definitely has to be something in your head like that makes you a little bit different. So I don't think it sounds corny at all. I think it just makes a whole lot of sense. And I see the chat already agreeing with all of this. Like, Isidros is not corny at all. He's going to be something special. I saw a comment that I wanted to mention from Sticktron, who said, Iisha, do you have a YouTube channel? And I wanted to mention it specifically, Iisha, because I know that you've been ramping up some content over there. Can you tell everyone where they can find you?
Yeah, it's Iisha with 2 I's, so it's Iisha. I know that this looks like an L. It's not. It's 2 I's, S-H-A, Morrison, my last name, Morrison. And yeah, you can go follow me over there. I think it's like Iisha Morrison 14 or something. Don't quote me. But yeah, come find me. Come see me. I'm starting to just post a little bit more content and pour into my page. But yeah, that's where I'm at. So
that's awesome. Cowboys YouTube keeps getting better and better, honestly. It's fun to see everyone that is doing content. Iisha, let's talk about one guy this guy has been on my mind since last year because I just want to learn more from him since last year. And I'm talking about Eric Scott Jr. And that's because last year it felt like in training camp. Yeah, we didn't hear anything, and then he didn't play for the entire season, but he was on the roster. He was on the 53. And then this year felt the same for me throughout camp. I was like, can somebody tell me anything about Eric Scott? And then naturally and fittingly, he has this super weird performance today when he's like, okay, he struggled early on, missed a tackle, got that late penalty, which you hate to see in a preseason game. And he was targeted plenty in that first half, and then there was that 4th down play where they went to him on the ISO ball route, and then fast forward to later in the game, and he makes a fantastic pick. Now, like, I know Stetson Bennett threw 4 interceptions and everyone had fun with it, including myself on Twitter. But the Eric Scott pick, out of the 4 picks that we saw, I think it was the most impressive one, because even though Bennett makes a mistake, clearly, like, Eric Scott sees it, right? Like, he's working to the left and then he kind of like stops and sees where Bennett is looking at, and just he gets in position to make the play. What do you make out of Eric Scott, and what do you make of that battle for that 5th or maybe even 6th spot at a corner? Because right now it seems to me like the only guys that are locks are the 3 starters: Trevon Diggs, Deron Bland, Jordan Lewis, and Kalen Carson, obviously, with the way that his preseason is going. Other than that, I don't feel like there's a lock. It feels like it's wide open at a cornerback.
No, I agree. And, obviously this team felt comfortable with trading a Nashawn Wright as well. So clearly they're evaluating in-house, what they have. Now, from an Eric Scott perspective, I agree with you, man. Listen, I've been asking questions too. I've been trying to ask, like, what do y'all see in this guy? What have you seen in camp? And it's been really up and down. Like, I'll ask one person, like, you see anything good from him? Like, oh yeah, he made a couple plays today. And then I ask somebody else and they'd be like, never heard of him. And I'm like, what do y'all mean you never?
He's on the team.
He's on the team.
You traded up for him.
Yeah. And Eric Scott has ability. He has some sticky, like, stay in your hip pocket type feel. And I will say, just in regard to the secondary in general, we've seen the secondary play close, tight coverage, first, second team, all through camp. But the rotations today were late from a lot of the guys. I felt like a lot of the guys just weren't in good position. Not that they were out of position, but they just weren't quick enough to the trigger, in certain places today. And I think that affected, I don't know, I just think that affected my overall perspective of the secondary today in general. I think I expected, and don't get me wrong, the interceptions were great, but you see a Whittington who gave Kalen like, listen, there's a lot of people watching Whittington go crazy today, and they are kicking themselves in the butt at the fact that he was not drafted by them, because I had a late 3rd, early 4th. I think I had an early 4th on him. That's how talented I thought he was. And he pulled Kalen Carson's card today. He was like, listen, man, I'm trying to make a team too.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make a team too. And I'm not a 4th round pick. I am a 6th round pick. So I got to do what I got to do. You might have to be, kind of in frame because of it. So, yeah, I mean, he gave the secondary in certain spots struggled today in general to me. It wasn't just, and then that's going to bring me to my next point, but I'm going to let you cook, Mauricio, but.
No, hey, that's why this is your show, Iisha. This is your show.
No, the pass rush. Like, Stetson Bennett had all day back there today.
I have a particular thought on that front. I know Junior Fehoko played a whole lot, but I also wonder, and I know he's powerful, and I know people were praising like his bull rush and everything, but I also felt underwhelmed with Fehoko today, because it didn't seem like he was getting there at all. And I agree, like, Tyrese Wett was out there, but I didn't see any like pass rush today.
And again, these are your second stringers.
Yeah.
And I thought about that, and I actually I gotta stop talking. I actually talked about this morning on my pod. Was I didn't even, in the scrimmage is where it stood out to me. If you're not bringing a linebacker blitz, a nickel blitz, or Micah's just out there tormenting people, where is this pass rush going to come from? Because we know when you get late into the season, guys' legs get tired. You need your second string. And that was the beauty of this defensive line last year, was that, okay, Micah, you need a breather. We can put Fowler out there, and we know he is a pure pass rusher that can get to the passer. We know that Dorrance Armstrong has pass rush ability. Hell, even now Neville Gallimore had some pass rush ability. So it's like, I was underwhelmed by the lack of pass rush. And even on the broadcast, plenty of times, they're like, oh, he has plenty of time back there. Oh, he might have too much time back there. And I'm sitting up and like, is somebody going to rush the passer? I mean, we did not start seeing, him being affected until the fourth quarter when I think Al-Qadim Muhammad,
newcomer.
That newly acquired, he was the only one that was really bending the corner to me and really being disruptive.
And even that was like, he's a veteran in the NFL just playing against four-quarter guys in the preseason game. Like, I'm not sure that's going to translate into game day during the regular season because Guyton Muhammad is like known as a run defender, right? He's not known as a pass rusher based on what we've seen from him so far. So it's like, this is a concern. And I know defensive tackle has been on everyone's radar as far as like weaknesses on this team, right? Because you've got Oza, and everything else is a question mark for the Cowboys defensive tackle room. But defensive end might be an underrated one, especially after the Sam Williams injury.
I'm telling you, man. I was sitting there thinking about it this morning, and I was just like, to your point, how you said you walked away underwhelmed today, that's how I felt about the scrimmage. That's literally how I felt about the scrimmage. I said to myself, like, if you're not mugging the A gaps with the linebackers, if it's not Micah Parsons being a terrorist, if it's not terrorizing people, I'm sorry, I don't want, that doesn't offend anyone. If it's not him, or if it's not, DeMarcus Lawrence still has some pass rush ability. Yeah. But hear me out. Last year was DeMarcus Lawrence's first year being healthy completely the whole season in 3 years. I'm not wishing no evil on him, Ricky Bobby, but I'm just saying that I feel like we have to be considerate of the fact that DeMarcus Lawrence is getting older, and what he does in the run game, it's so important, and I know it beats him up more than anything. So I'm personally just don't expect for him to be just as efficient as a pass rusher as before. I just don't. He's getting older. It just is what it is. So it's like, and don't get me wrong, he showed some things in the scrimmage, like he put some people on their ass, but I'm nervous, dude, and I wasn't trying to bring another stressor to you.
I totally understand it. I'm trying to like also get into like this now that you mention it. Like, if you're not doing the double A gap stuff, if you're not blitzing and the Mike Zimmer blitzes will be different than the Dan Quinn blitzes, and I've tried to explain this on the show, and the way that I see it is like Dan Quinn wanted to blitz with like Van Der Esch and Donovan Wilson sometimes, just to kind of like get Micah or D-Law freed up. But with Mike Zimmer, it seems like when a corner is blitzing, when a linebacker is blitzing, the true intention is for those guys to get to the quarterback, right? Like what we saw today with Willie Harvey coming from depth and trying to hit Stetson Bennett. But you can only do the double A gap stuff and the blitzing stuff for like what, 30% of the plays? If you are among the NFL leaders in blitz rate, right? Like, there's no way you can do this that much. Like, this cannot be your pass rush plan. This is a complement to your pass rush. This is how you take it up to the next level in high leverage downs and that kind of stuff. But you don't want to have to blitz in order to get a pass rush. The teams that are among the leaders in the NFL in blitz rate are typically the teams that cannot get to the quarterback otherwise.
And that's what we always see. Yeah, absolutely. You are right. And you mentioned Fehoko. He's powerful, and I know you mentioned that earlier. It's just similarly to how we talk about, not the same exactly. He ain't got no experience either. Nope. He didn't play all last year. He didn't play a single snap last year. He was inactive a lot. So he's getting live in-game reps for the first time since last preseason, where he injured his shoulder. So some of him not seeming fast or whatever the case may be, still powerful, but not being as decisive is because he hasn't been on the field. Can you get some pass rush from here eventually? I think so, sure. You look at Tyrus Wheat. He's another guy that they've used some linebacker stuff. They're using him as an end. And he got a little something to him. I'll give it to him. He got a little something to him. But it's not, can I bet on that? Can I bet on the fact that that's going to happen? And then obviously Oso Digizua, obviously he's the best 3 tech that you have. He's going to be able to penetrate and get upfield. But where's the depth behind him?
There's
Because
no
don't
doubt.
tell me it's Chauncey Golston, because I want his ass back there at edge. Move him. Stop playing these games. I mean, so I wasn't trying to stress you out, but I was thinking about the other day, and I was like, you know what? This might be a problem, boss.
Yeah.
This is kind of rubbing me the wrong way. I don't think, and again, I think Marshawn Nealon is slowly, I'm not going to say slowly, he's definitely developing more pass rush counters and things like that. I mean, you'll see him really heavily lean on the speed to power or whatever the case may be, but he is starting to really show some of the hand tech, and he's working with Micah and DeMarcus Lawrence and stuff. So I think he can be a good pass rusher, but
Yep.
he's still a rookie. Their legs get tired about week 10. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know what we're gonna do, but
This is how I put it to Sky. I think it was in June, once minicamp was over, we had like crossover show, and the way that he and I were framing it was like, so we're all talking about the linebackers because we're excited about them, right? We're excited because we have linebackers in the first place. It's Overshown and Clark, and we've got Eric Kendricks, who is looking great too. And then you've got Marist to be excited about. Micah is playing some linebacker now, which is also exciting. But even with that improvement at linebacker, is the front seven of the Cowboys better than it was last year? And I think the answer is decidedly no, because of the defensive line, both tackle and the ends. And that's a problem when you're talking about the Cowboys defense remaining at the level that it's been over the last 3 years. Because I know it's had some problems, right? Like fitting the run, it had some problems, but it's still one of the best defenses over the last 3 years. And what if you don't have that this year?
yeah, oh, dude. I mean, I just like you were talking about, like the DT position. Even last year, because Hankins was injured on and off, and that was the thing about Hankins, is like he was great, but right before playoffs he was always dinged up or something that mattered. But he was really your only one tech depth, so I don't think you really replaced him, which matters because you just at least need a decent rotation. And I mean, honestly, I thought that Justin Rogers showed some good things today. I thought Mozzie had a few nice plays in there today. Fine. But that's one thing. And then you look at, and to your point, say what you want to say about Dorrance Armstrong and Dante Fowler not playing the run. One thing they could do was rush the passer. And they could rush the passer on fresh legs. They could come in there on third downs. And they were effective. And you already knew, like, you didn't really have a really good run stopping edge opposite of Tank, but Micah was out there. So you're still getting, like, semi-pass rush and run stop from Tank, and then you're getting pure pass rush basically from Micah. Still, you still have two of the two best ends in football out there. What are you gonna do if one of them needs a breather right now?
It's ugly. It's ugly.
Like, what are you gonna need? I talked myself into being nervous.
You need Marshawn Nealon to also be a pass rusher, and I know
That's
it wasn't
what
his.
like. Yeah.
And
Sorry,
I know it wasn't his thing in college. Like, his big thing in college was being like these, and everyone compared him to D-Law for a reason, right? It wasn't just because he was good. It was because he is good, but he's an excellent run defender. And everyone, or at least with the scouting reports and everything, I feel like pretty much every analyst was like, he doesn't have a pass rush toolbox right now. He needs to develop it. He needs to have a plan when the season starts. And I know he's shown some of that at camp, right? Like, suddenly there are these clips from training camp where you're like, I didn't know he could do that. The other day he was like feinting a long arm and then going under and getting to the quarterback. So if he does that, the whole conversation might change. But the key is Nealon, and I don't know, like, that's fair for him as a second-round rookie, where it's like, you better be much better than everyone expected. Otherwise, we're going to have trouble. Serious trouble at the defensive line.
Yeah, I mean, and so, I mean, obviously we got to go back and look. Did you notice anything from Shaka Toney today?
Nah, I actually didn't, but I also didn't focus on him. I didn't notice.
Okay, well, that might be
good
something.
or bad.
Yeah, because that might be something to come back to. Because listen, and then obviously too, in the camp, there'll be some waivers. There'll be some guys out there. Maybe, you see if you can pick up a guy. But man, yeah. Uh, this is gonna get interesting because the way that the linebackers are playing and the way that the secondary are playing, I'm pretty confident in that, right? Like I'm like, okay, you
Yeah.
guys will be all right. It can take it I think you can deal, and this is just me. I think you can deal with not being super strong in the middle if you have fast, instinctive linebackers. Because if they're going to feel and they're going to read it before it's there, which they've been doing, then that can help you out a little bit. So I'm a little bit more concerned right now. I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm a little bit more concerned with the edge situation from us talking about it than the DT position right now, because I think you can mask that a little better. And we already know, we've seen the trends in the NFL the last couple of years. People are attacking the edges. They are attacking the edges. They are bouncing it to the outside and doing things outside way more often now. So it's like, oh Lord, please don't please don't tell me it's gonna be like this again.
You know what is becoming a little bit more difficult to deal with and accept? The fact that they waived Isaiah Land last year. So I was watching the Colts play this weekend, and suddenly I see Isaiah Land make a play, and I'm like, damn it. Because it obviously ties directly into this conversation, Iisha. I'm sorry. I had to bring it up. I had to. And he's not getting cut. And he's not getting cut by the Colts.
They're not going to cut him because they see what we saw, which was, you might not stop the run that well, but baby, that bend is crazy. You know how to get to the quarterback. You know how to get there. So it's like, but we'll see. We'll see if they start to feel, because we going to another preseason game, and somebody like Stetson Bennett don't get tapped, breathed on. Ain't nobody even flick him on the forehead.
Now let me ask you
something.
something.
They're chilling. And then your DBs or your young DBs who need to be gaining confidence getting their ass whooped.
Yep.
Because you're not getting any pressure. You know what? I'm gonna let it go.
I've got one more question though. I've got one more question, and then we can move on from the pass rush issue, and we can get into some final thoughts about the game.
Okay.
But I do have one concern. Is this? Oh man, this is gonna be maybe. This is gonna be a little bit maybe controversial because the topic itself is controversial, but with the context that we've been discussing, right? We're talking about how we are concerned about the edges. Yes, I'm excited about the Micah Parsons moving around thing, but also, what about the timing with this whole thing where you're like, is this the season where you want to move Micah around that much? And specifically, I'm talking about having him playing on off the ball. Because if I'm talking about him being in the A gap directly above the center, I'm good with that because he's at the defensive line essentially. But even if you're excited about like the versatility and the disguising with Micah moving around, is this the season to do it? Like, doesn't it feel weird, the timing to you? Because it kind of feels weird to me. Like, I'm like, now that we've got linebackers, you want to play him at linebacker. And now that we're lacking edge rushers, you want to move him away from that.
No, I get what you're saying, but I think that's not his problem that we ain't got the right people. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
That's fair.
Honestly, now that we brought up the edge thing, it might become his problem. They might see, like, if I'm being straight up with you, we can start getting into the season and they see these other guys can't get any pass rush. They might just tell his ass, gone. We know we're going to have to pay you anyway. Gone, just put your ass on the edge. We're going to have our freaking linebacker core, all these guys just rotate in, and you just won't be doing none of that stuff no more. You just going to rush the pass. Yeah, like, we could very well see that. Because if you know, this DN thing becomes a thing, but I understand what you're saying, though. I do understand what you're saying, though. I personally do feel like moving him around is best for him, especially if you're looking at longevity and health. Moving him around is what's best for him, because we see how, like, that's a thing in football that people really don't like to talk about, but there are decisions that are made. And if I know for a fact, all I got to do is chip 11 real good, and he might be on the sideline for 4 plays of a big drive, I'm going to do it. And we saw that happen a lot. Like, the way he was getting chipped, drug, I mean, a lot. I mean, and it's crazy to me because when you get late in the season, people are like, "Oh, Michael tired again." I'm like, "Honey, are y'all
He's
watching
getting
on film
destroyed.
what they're doing to him? They are, and it's because they understand what he means to the team. But furthermore, it's he having him in the game complicates things so much for offenses. So it's like, yeah, I mean, these tight ends and these people are chipping him to high L. And so I understand them moving him around because I think it's best for him longevity wise. And that's just what it's going to be. But out of necessity, it used to be out of necessity, he's going to have to go play linebacker. But now it might be out of necessity, hey, big dog, we just going to have to do this, double A blitz with somebody else. And again,
Yeah.
I don't know if you can maybe work it a certain way because I don't think you would want him to be a decoy. But sure. But I don't want to blitz just to get pressure, man. I don't want to have to bring a safety blitz. I don't want to have to bring a corner blitz. I don't want to have to bring a linebacker blitz. The best defenses can get home with 4. And if you can't do that, I'm stressed out.
I agree.
I'm stressed out, Mauricio.
Just so we can reduce that stress level, anything stuck out to you that we haven't talked about positive from this preseason opener against the LA Rams? Cowboys end up with the L, but we don't care about the scoreboard. At least I don't. I got over it 5 seconds after the play. I was like, damn it, this is a very Cowboys way to lose. 5 seconds later, I was like, okay, I actually don't care. Anything stuck out to you that we haven't got to that was a positive in your book?
Oh, yeah, 14, man. Marquise
Oh,
Bell.
yeah. Yeah. Safety, linebacker, no problem.
Your reaction tells me everything I need to know because guess who else's name we ain't heard all year, all camp? Have you heard Marquise Bell's name at all during camp?
Can I make a confession that I'm going to be ashamed of? I wasn't entirely sure he had moved back to safety. Like, I was like, he definitely had to move back to safety, but I haven't heard anyone talk about him, so I'm not exactly sure what is going on with them. Today was a good day for him to be like, yeah, I'm good at safety, right?
Yeah, he's moved back to safety. Still doing a lot near the line of scrimmage, though. And earlier today, I literally just said on my page, like, hey, y'all, it's me. The person that thought that, Dan Quinn loved using the strong safety. Like, he loves strong safeties to a point to where you almost devalued free safety so much. Malik Hooker was the only free safety we had on the team for a while. Yep. So it was strong safety, strong safety, strong safety. And so coming to Zimmer's system, I'm not saying he doesn't value the strong safety. I just don't think he values it the same because he's not doing as much big nickel. He's doing a lot of 2 high sets. So he wants guys that can cover a lot of grass that are rangy. And so coming into this camp, I was saying to myself, I was like, what's going to happen to Donovan Wilson? Because that's what I was thinking. I was like, what's going to happen to Donovan Wilson? Because Donovan Wilson's never been a guy to me that was like fantastic boundary to boundary. But you put him closer to the line. He has some, ability there. But his bread is butter being close to the line of scrimmage. It just is. That's some of the things he does well. So I was like, how is he going to fit? And I was really worried that he would get the short end of the stick because of the way that Dan Quinn would use him. That wasn't really traditional to most strong safeties. So I'm like, okay, whatever. Yeah. I thought it was Marquise Bell till today. Because I was sitting here like, I'm not hearing Marquise Bell's name. And no more J-Ron Curse. The big nickel is not the base anymore. So I did know they were moving Marquise Bell back to safety. But again, looking at Zimmer's system, he's not a guy that's just like, I'm going to have extra robbers in there all the time like Dan Quinn. So even if this is like what we could see from Marquise Bell, I don't know how often we're going to see it. So anyway, also too, you could look at it the whole other way. Like, why the hell is someone like Marquise Bell playing the whole preseason game? And that's what I'm saying. Like,
that's fun because there's no easy, right? So there was no Mukwamu, and maybe some snaps could have gone there, I guess. Had he been healthy.
Yes.
But also you kind of get into a situation where like Bell is your 4th safety, maybe. Like if you think Juan J is the 3rd, if you think Juan J is your 3rd best safety, I know they're kind of different, but it seems like he's your fourth, and it's like one of the deepest rooms on the team. You know, the safeties. I think that's your top four. I think it's Hooker, Wilson, Juan Jay, and then you've got Marquise Bell in there as the fourth.
So you said Hooker,
Wilson,
Donovan.
Dono.
Donovan.
Who I think of as a Harrison Smith, honestly, on Mike Zimmer's defense. And I'm kind of excited to see him as that Harrison Smith type.
So break that down for me. How did Zimmer use Harrison Smith to you? I want to hear your perspective on it.
So from what I've seen and from what I remember, Harrison Smith was like this wild card in Zimmer's system. And you could see him just... There are some plays on Mike Zimmer's defense where like he'll start at the line of scrimmage and then fire all the way back to play a deep half of a deep half zone. And it was crazy to watch because it was like he's at the line of scrimmage 1 second before the snap, and then he's shooting downfield and just going down there to cover that deep half. And he was also blitzing a lot. He was an important run defender for them. And from what I can remember from Dono, it was like there were a lot of times, and maybe not so much in 2023, but when he was shot out of a cannon into the backfield to make a sack, to make a tackle for a loss. And I kind of think of Harrison Smith doing some of that for Mike Zimmer, and I get excited because I do think Wilson is kind of like that wild card that can do a little bit of everything. I agree with you. He's maybe not an elite coverage guy that can go sideline to sideline and not very rangy, but I think he's good in coverage. He's good as a run defender. He's good as this blitzer type, and I'm excited about like that versatility from Dono.
So when you were saying that he would have, him close to the line of scrimmage and then he'd be like dead sprint to cover the deep half of the field, was that in single high safety? Was there a safety already back there waiting for him? What's up?
That was single high, and then they turned it into two high.
Tracking.
So it was a two high look, but they were showing one high with Harrison Smith as kind of like a blitzer type or someone working in press, and then at the last moment it's actually two high, and they're trying to get the quarterback off guard.
No, you're right.
That kind of stuff.
No, you're right, and that's actually something I did see on film from Zimmer. I don't know why. I was just, like I said, I was oddly worried for Donovan Wilson. But seems like Zimmer really likes him. He fits whatever. So the next person in line would be Marquise Bell. Because if Harrison was the one doing that for him, then, I mean, he just doesn't run the big nickel a lot. I mean, he'll do it if it's just necessary. But he's not doing it a lot. So it's like, I was looking at Marquise Bell to be the guy that kind of replaces Jaron Curse in the big nickel. So maybe that is what he ends up doing, but I couldn't believe he was out there playing the whole time. That
was crazy.
I'm just being honest with you, man. Like, what is that about? What is that about? Are y'all trying to figure him out? Is that why is Zimmer trying to figure him out? Is Zimmer trying to get more information about him? Because I'm telling you, I have not heard his name through camp at all. I haven't seen a single report. Have you seen anything about Marquise Bell?
Nah, not really. Not throughout camp. I was very curious about it, and I'm looking at the snap count from last year, and he played 61% of the snaps. So that's so weird.
This is not, and even so, I mean, statistically speaking, in coverage, he was one of the best linebackers, quote unquote, quotes, in the NFL. I mean, he did some good things at linebacker, despite the fact he was undersized, and a lot of that didn't work out. So it's like,
yeah,
what's happening here? Are y'all evaluating Marquise Bell right now? Because when a guy plays the whole game, he played the whole game. I'm not exaggerating.
Yeah, and you could have played like, Redwine didn't play, did he? Did Redwine play?
I
think
so.
He didn't play.
We got to see my dude Julius Wood
making a pick.
Yeah.
Is he a winner on your list?
For someone like him, yes.
Okay.
For someone like him, because I think he's the strong safety after I believe he's the strong safety after Fiddlesticks. After Donovan Wilson. I mean, he's the third strong safety. I think after Donovan, he is not on this roster thing I have, but I think on the unofficial depth chart, he's the third strong safety. So, and thank you for the comment, Brian. Yeah, so Red Wine didn't play. So
no
that might be why.
Mukwamu, no red wine. Maybe that's why.
Possibly. That makes sense. But I thought
Yeah.
he made the best out of his time out there to get the interception. That's something that translated from college. He takes the ball away a lot. And it's not, again, it's not just I'm snatching the ball out the air. It's him reading a lot of the time, or he punches the ball out as well. He just has a nose for the ball, but also, too, he helped out in the run game. And you feel his presence when he's helping out in the run game. I don't know if you saw a couple times, but he's coming downhill with some not so nice intentions. So, yeah, I thought he did himself a favor having a good day today. Who else? We saw Malik Davis a whole bunch, didn't we?
We saw Malik Davis a lot. No Deuce Vaughn, no Royce Freeman. So it seemed to me like Malik Davis was a winner before the game even started, because it was like you're going to have a chance to prove yourself. I'm trying to find like the stats for him. So his stat line was 8 rushes, 18 yards, 2.3 average. And listen, it's difficult because it's the offensive line as well. Like, I get like it's also that, but did he make the most out of the opportunity that was given to him? Maybe not. And I didn't see him on special teams. Obviously, he probably played, but I didn't notice anything special. But yeah, I don't know what to make out of Malik Davis. His longest run was 4 yards. So maybe not great.
Yeah, before the game today, I said, I don't know nothing about this running back room. I feel like I know so much and nothing at all. So, and I'm still here. The only person that I think, and with all due respect to Zeke and all that stuff, whatever the case may be, but it's not my business. Rico Dowdle is the best running back you got right now.
And he's the guy that played, and Zeke did not play. That felt weird to me.
That's why I'm saying I ain't trying to piss nobody off. Nothing gets smited or whatever, but I'm just saying, like, kind of weird, Brody. I'm just gonna. Yes, I said fiddlesticks. I don't know who was in the comments talking about some fiddlesticks. Yes, I said what I said, but yeah, I thought that was weird. I thought someone that hasn't been here for a year, despite being a veteran, new offense. This isn't the same offense that he was a part of when he left. This is a different offense, a new field.
Not only that, like Mike McCarthy specifically has talked so much about the pass pro for the running backs. Like, after Zeke left, it was a whole new show in pass pro for the running backs. And Mike McCarthy always has mentioned that as the biggest change of his offense now that he took over it from Kellen Moore. So yeah, I even thought it was a bit disrespectful to Rico Dowdle, if I'm being honest with you, because it felt like, how come Zeke is not playing but Rico is playing, when Rico not only was the back last year for this offense when Zeke was not that, but there's an argument to be made that Rico overall had a better year in Dallas than Zeke had in New England. Mm-hmm. And especially when you look at the explosive numbers and all that, and especially when if there's somebody you want to put on a bubble grab, it's Rico Dowdle. It's not Zeke, because Rico has an injury history already that is perhaps the main concern for him right now. So yeah, that felt, I didn't agree with it. I felt it was kind of like disrespectful to Rico, but as you said, like, we'll just leave it at that, I guess.
I'm not, I ain't trying to piss nobody off, but I was thinking like,
that's weird.
Wait a minute. What is going on here? And then, like I mean, even from the scrimmage, you see that Rico Dowdle has, I like to call him like, just a little bit of everything running back. You see the explosiveness. Yeah. He has breakaway speed. He can come downhill and punish you in the run game. I thought he did pretty good in pass pro last year. I mean, he's active in the screen game. He can be a returner. He has the traits and stuff. We're just really hoping that things figure themselves out with him this year. But outside of that, baby, you need to go get another running back. Stop playing these games. Y'all trading for cornerbacks that are special teamers right now. You need to be trading for a running back like yesterday. Because
Dameon Pierce, come on down.
Dameon Pierce? Why would he come here?
Give me Dameon Pierce. With the Texans, didn't they draft the top running back earlier this year? I don't know where he's at in their depth chart. Let me
Listen,
see.
I covered the draft. I can't remember. Wait.
So 2024 Houston Texans depth chart. I've got them. They have Joe Mixon. They got you're right. They had they have Cam Akers.
Mm.
They've got Jordan Jahar. No,
That's my dude from Louisville. He can play.
But he's a 6th rounder.
Yeah, he's a draft pick. He's a little light in the ass, but he can play.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they had somebody else. Honestly, at running back. So that's why I always thought of Dameon Pierce.
But is he still
I agree.
there?
Who?
Dameon Pierce. Is he still there?
Yeah, with the Texans. Yep.
Yeah, they ain't gonna trade him.
Yeah, that sucks.
We gotta think outside the box. We need group things because at this point, Royce Freeman seems like he's dealing with the injury, and that seems like it's lingering. Snoop Connor had a nice little, I don't know, something today, a little something
to the left side, yeah.
Nathaniel Pete couldn't get anything going, and I actually was looking forward to seeing him because he does have some burst and some suddenness. And then Hunter, the only solidified person that is in this running back room is ding 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 Hunter Lipke. He the only one that's secure. He the only one that's secure. And don't get me wrong, he did some things today, but it's like
he's got enough in his hands playing fullback and tight end for him to be also tasked with being the primary running back or something like that for this team.
So the only other thing that I think I noticed today from what you asked me, no, that's it. I don't think I had really anything else special to say. It was so eventful yet uneventful.
Yeah, I think the reason for that, and with this, don't worry, I won't take much of your time anymore. But
okay.
I think by the third quarter, there was a lot of UDFA guys in there. Like the preseason has become more underwhelming to me over the last few years. And this doesn't go for the Cowboys only, like just across the board, across the entire league. I feel like they're playing these guys fewer and fewer snaps every single time. And maybe that has to do with the joint practices and that kind of stuff. I've talked about how the joint practices are gonna be the end of preseason football as we know it, because it feels like it's headed into that direction, at least over the long term. But still, fun game with a lot of takeaways. And of course, the big story was always going to be Trey Lance. But I think we learned a lot from Rashawn Nealon, from Tyler Guyton, and a little bit of what the Cowboys are thinking, right at certain spots, for better or worse. We're going to leave confused about the defensive line, confused about the running backs, and maybe a little the Marquise Bell thing that we were discussing. But Iisha, thank you so much for joining the show, for joining Primetime. I'm sorry. Looked like you had something in your mind. But thank you so much for joining the show.
Of course, dude. No, you reminded me of something because you were talking about, I don't know what made me think about it, but Cooper Beebe had some good spots, had some spots where he struggled a little bit. He got gates a couple times because he's still getting the hang of that center position and really just firing off the ball after he gets out of the stance. It's totally different to go from the stance that he's in at guard to having to snap the ball, set, and to be comfortable to enough to where he can counter and then be able to anchor. And then also too, TJ Bass has had a interesting camp, and it's really bothering me because TJ Bass is someone that I looked at to take a step forward this year. I felt like the Cowboys lucked up to an extent with him last year, with him coming in and being a piece of this offensive line that you could rely upon and you knew he was going to be there. And in my mind, I'm like, this is our new swing guard.
Yeah.
But in the scrimmage, he had some things that I didn't necessarily like in one-on-ones, but he was better in the actual set 11 on 11 or whatever. But because he came in for Zach Martin. And in the game today, I just saw him. And again, the thing about TJ Bass is not always going to be pretty. It's not always going to be pretty. It's not always going to be super technically sound, but he's going to work and just continue to work. And I like that about him. But there were quite a few times today where they're trying to get to the second level and he cannot make the blocks.
Okay.
And so he's whiffing on those blocks going to the second level. now just as a pass protector, doing his things, whatever. But in the run game specifically, I am seeing him with more than he is being, hey, knock that off. More than he is being, my service dog Congo wanted to make an appearance. Yeah, but I'm seeing him with a little bit more. And I wanted to bring that up because he's one of the guys that I feel like needs these preseason games to regain confidence. And we need them to regain confidence in his ability too, because you have a Cooper BB, if he does play well, you might be able to ransom him. I'm not saying ransom him. I'm just saying every team is looking for extra offensive linemen. This guy has started in games. This guy has good reps in practice, and he'll hopefully have some more good reps in preseason. He's someone that maybe if you do need to throw in a package for a running back or something like that, nobody is going to. I'm sure there's plenty of scouts that are scouting teams, like scouting sections or whatever they are, looking at themselves like they missed on this guy last year. So you might get somebody to bite if you need him back or something.
You're onto something because there was this Jeremy Fowler ESPN article. I don't know if you read that, where there was a lot of like intel on it, and one of the bullet points for the Cowboys was like, there's a lot of offensive linemen on this team, and they might be interested in pulling off a trade at the cut down day. So that might be where you get.
So you might be paying attention, girl.
Yeah, you're onto something. You're onto something. And when I read that, I was like, who could it be? I never really thought of, TJ Voss, but with what you said earlier about Asim Richards, you can connect the dots, and it's like, okay, he could be that guy.
Yeah, because you have BB. So it's like, he can be my swing.
And BB's stuck. You mentioned it. He had some good moments, some bad moments. Obviously, everyone wants to hear about BB. I don't think his stock moved a whole lot for me. Like, sure, there was some good stuff, there was some bad stuff. So I think he's still in the spot that he was coming into the game, right? Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it didn't go up or down. Like, it's basically what I expected to see from him. He was really good in 101s against the Rams the other day, whereas some of the other backup offensive linemen struggle. But he did some good things there because he's just doing guard stuff, which is what he's used to. So, of course, he looks better. So, but, yeah, TJ Bass. And they might, I think it will be TJ Bass, because you can't do awesome. You can't risk awesome right now to me, especially with Nathan Thomas being injured and you not seeing. I was bummed, dude. I was bummed. Let me let you go. I was bummed that we didn't get to see Nathan Thomas, because I think he could be good tackle depth.
I'll just say there's a possibility that neither your 6th round draft pick and your 7th round draft pick make the roster, and that's kind of like a bummer to me if it happens like that. Because I could see Nathan Thomas not making it. And
again, I feel like I saw some good things from him in practice and stuff, but these games are pivotal, and I didn't even hear what was wrong with him, if there was anything wrong with him at all. I was surprised that he didn't go today, because it looked like he needed to be in. They put in Guyton as long as they did, because I think out of default. Because they didn't have a Nathan Thomas to throw out there with the threes so he could run. So I'll see if I can find a little bit more out about what he has going on. But, yeah, maybe keep an eye on TJ Bass and how he's performing, because I just knew he was going to go and I'm just not seeing that level up from him, man. And it kind of sucks.
You got me thinking. You got me thinking with whole TJ Bass thing. No, don't be. On the contrary, I know this is something that I'll write about tomorrow morning early on, and that's going to be one of my first articles of the week over at A to Z Sports. But yeah, this is some good stuff. Iisha, it's always good stuff when you're on the show. It's always good football talk. Everyone loves you in the chat, as you can see, I'm sure. You're awesome in what you do. Obviously, they can listen to you on the Cowboys Podcast Network, now with the YouTube channel over at Iisha Morrison. Everyone, make sure you check out what Iisha is putting out. The Cowboys content is on fire. And again, thank you so much for joining the show. I appreciate you taking the time. And obviously, on a Sunday night when the Cowboys played, even more so.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's always fun. To the fans in the chat and the subscribers in the chat, I really appreciate y'all, and thank you for being kind to me. Your empathy is your superpower, and use it every day when you can. So thanks.
Awesome. Let's go. Thank you, everyone, for watching the show. Make sure you hit the like button for me. It takes half a second to hit the thumbs up, and it helps out a lot in growing this A to Z Sports Dallas platform. So go ahead and do that for us, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much, and bye-bye.